Hello and welcome back to the latest edition of the Agenda podcast here on the Blood Red channel. I'm your host, Edward Kay, and I'm joined today by the Echo's very own Paul Gorst. And today we are going to be discussing Roberto Firmino. A lot of rumours running around at the moment that reportedly his agents come out and said Liverpool and him are on the right track to signing a new contract. So, I mean, first of all, we'll come to you on that, Gorsty. Are you expecting Liverpool to give him a new contract?
Yeah, it's something I actually asked Jurgen Klopp a couple of weeks back in his press conference and said, you know, what, are you hopeful of keeping him? And he said yes. And I said, well, what might be the hold-up? Given the, I didn't actually say this to him, but, he's the manager and he's, what he says goes to an extent. What might be the hold-up around Firmino entering the last 6 months of his contract if you're keen to keep him around? And he just said it's normal things, normal discussions going on behind the scenes. And he said he wasn't sure if Firmino had offers from elsewhere. And I think once you're in the final 6 months of your contract, I don't think you're obliged to go directly to the other club of the player who you want. I think you can speak, directly to the agents freely, can't you? So I think that's kind of what Klopp was suggesting. It would be no surprise at all whether if Firmino was attracted interest from elsewhere, if a European club thinks that they can get a player of his quality on a free this summer. But Klopp was hopeful of keeping him. And then, interestingly, some quotes came out later that day that were attributed to the club's official magazine, and Firmino said that he wanted to stay as well. So, I wouldn't be shocked if there was a positive resolution to this story, given that both the manager and the player are saying publicly on record that they'd like to continue on. I think the big issue revolves around the specifics of the contract.
Yeah, obviously, like you say, Klopp and the player both seemingly wanting to get this deal done, but it's been one that seems to have divided opinion amongst a lot of fans. Obviously, he is sort of coming to the back end of his career now. His productivity has waned and he's been used less and less. But if you look at that sort of stretch of 9 or 10 games before the World Cup, he was the only one really banging the goals in for Liverpool. So do you think he's earned this new contract, and do you think Liverpool should be giving him a new one?
Yeah, well, I think the key issue is, without having had this confirmed, Firmino's a high earner on that wage bill. So, he's going to turn 32 in October, which is not completely over the hill, but it's certainly, approaching the autumn years of your career. You can still contribute. There's no doubt about that. We've seen that in the first half of the season. He's not someone who relies on pace or power, so he's not going to, fall off a cliff with regards to those attributes. So he's definitely still got a few years ahead of him in terms of being able to contribute significantly. Such a clever, intelligent player, isn't he, that he could probably turn his hand to a different role in the squad if it was asked for as well. So certainly still got plenty of mileage left in him. I just think the potential hold-up at this stage is the fact that he is a high earner, and if he was to sign a 1 or 2 year extension, he's not going to be playing regularly as he has done previously in this Liverpool team, is he? You look at Darwin Núñez, Luis Diaz, Cody Gakpo, all have been signed between January 2022 and January 2023. So Liverpool looking to kind of rebuild and overhaul their forward options. So Firmino inevitably would drop down the pecking order. And if you've got someone like him who's maybe fifth or even sixth choice in that front three, who's earning, more than a Darwin Núñez and a Luis Diaz and a Cody Gakpo, I think that's where Liverpool's issue might lie. So if they can, they certainly did it with James Milner last summer. He signed a new contract on reduced terms, and at the age of 36, he's just turned 37. That was understandable from all parties. The issue is whether a 31-year-old Roberto Firmino feels that he's still deserving of his current pay packet, or whether he's happy to accept, the reduced terms. So we'll wait and see on that one. But obviously, he's been a mainstay of Jurgen Klopp's tenure, hasn't he? I think Klopp's now had 1,001 games in management, and no players played more than Roberto Firmino across those thousands of games. So it just shows you how vital he's been to the overall project, if you like, over the last 7 or 8 years. But yeah, I'm not I'm not massively concerned that this won't have a resolution to it. I do think he will eventually extend his contract, whether that's a 1 year or 2 year, under the kind of proviso that he might not necessarily be as regular as he has been, certainly at the start of his Liverpool career.
Yeah, it's an interesting point you make there about nobody having played for Klopp more over his 1,000+ games now, because a lot of people over the years at Liverpool have complained that Klopp's been too loyal to players at times. People who moan about Henderson still being in the starting lineup are quick to sort of level that criticism at Klopp. Obviously, like you say, no player has played more underneath Jurgen Klopp throughout those games. Do you think this is a case of Klopp being a bit too loyal again, or do you think it is a smart move offering him that extension?
No, I don't think it's a case of him being too loyal. I think Firmino can definitely still contribute. He's only 31 at the moment. He's not 35, 36, and coming towards the end of his career. He's still got a few years left, and we've seen that already this season, haven't we? I don't think Liverpool would have liked to have had to rely on him as much as they did in the first 3-4 months of the season, but for injury to Diaz and Núñez settling in, and Jota was out injured as well, wasn't he? So Firmino had to be thrust back into the team every week, and to be fair to him, he done as well as he could at a time when the entire team was struggling for form. Where he wasn't going to give his at his scintillating best that we've seen, in particular the 2018-19 season, but he did okay. He done well. He scored 8 or 9 goals this season. A little bit of a shame that he's missed the last 9 games now with injury, which we initially were told was only a minor one. Hasn't played for Liverpool since November now, actually. But you think the last few weeks he certainly would have played a bit, as Cody Gakpo struggled to truly make his mark early on, and Núñez has been he hasn't been 100% fit, has he? Obviously, Diaz and Jota are still out, so that's been a little bit of a blow. But yeah, I don't think by any means Liverpool should be looking to discard him at this stage. I think he still has a role to play in the next couple of years. I think, albeit a reduced role, but certainly somebody who can still contribute.
Yeah, you mentioned that that injury. Obviously, I think he's been injured since that Dubai Super Cup. As you said, it was only supposed to be a couple of weeks. It's turned into sort of a month or so out.
Yeah.
Do you think that that injury, and obviously it seemingly getting worse than it was feared at first, do you think that's going to play into Liverpool's thinking at all when they're talking about awarding him a new contract? Or injury is going to start becoming a worry with him, reaching the twilight of his career?
I don't know really. It's an interesting one, this injury, because we were told it was a kick on the calf in training, and Liverpool was still hopeful of him playing a part in the festive period. So that the first game he missed was Man City in the Carabao Cup. Where are we now? We're into the early days of February, and there's still no sign of him returning. So he's obviously had a setback, which Klopp confirmed as much a couple of weeks back, but seems to be a lot more serious than it was initially thought to be, which has obviously been a disappointment to him, and Liverpool really could have done with him at various points. Imagine him coming off the bench in some of the games where Liverpool haven't won or whatever. He might have made all the difference, mightn't he? So yeah, he has been missed, but I don't think this particular injury would be anything that would jeopardise any talks or anything like that. It's not like an ACL where he's going to be out for 8 or 9 months, and we might not return the same player on the other side of it. So I think it's just part and parcel of the game, I guess. Even though it has been a bit of a frustrating time, considering we thought it was only going to be a minor one, and here we are now in early February, and it doesn't look like he's going to be involved at Wolves either.
And if Liverpool and Firmino weren't able to reach an agreement and he did depart, I've spoken to a few people about the state of Liverpool's forward line was Firmino to leave. Do you think Liverpool would be looking elsewhere? Should they be looking elsewhere to strengthen that forward line again if he does leave? And who out there can replace a player like Firmino? Do you see a sort of suitable replacement out there, or even at the club already, to fill that role?
No, I can't see him being someone who Liverpool would be, desperate to replace in a way. They've got other areas, haven't they? Other priorities, particularly midfield. So if Firmino was to leave, I think Klopp would still look at it and think, okay, well, we've got Diogo Jota, Luis Diaz, Darwin Núñez, Mo Salah, and Cody Gakpo. And obviously Ben Doak is just kind of emerging, isn't he, on the fringes, and Kate Gordon's still there, even though he's had a bit of a time for himself with injuries. So I don't think they'd be looking to replace him. Certainly externally, within the club, we've seen Cody Gakpo kind of play that central role since he's come in, and he played off the left for PSV and Holland, didn't he? But it looks like they're looking to try and turn him into a little bit of a different player, playing that central role. Maybe he is the long-term Firmino replacement already at the club. But, if Firmino is to move on, I don't think Liverpool are going to be moving into the market for a replacement, because, it's someone who's going to be fifth or sixth choice anyway. And how much is it going to cost? How much is that going to take out of the budget that's kind of being reserved for central midfielders? It's just what I don't see happening personally.
Yeah, and obviously, any time a player's being linked with a move away, especially a player who's been with us as long as like Firmino, it's tricky not to take a look back at everything they've done, the totality of their career with the club. Just how valuable of a servant has Firmino been over the years? There's been certainly been better players in the Jurgen Klopp era, but I don't think there've been many more important players, have there?
No, I think when we come to look back on the Jurgen Klopp era, I think he'll be the one who will kind of personify it all, won't he? The flamboyant Brazilian, the gleam and smile, the tricks and the flicks, and everything that goes with it, the no-look passes, and some of the moments that he's been involved in, right from Klopp's first few weeks at Anfield, hasn't he? When Brendan Rodgers was at the club, felt like he didn't really know how to use him. He was playing him sort of as an attacking midfielder. I think I remember him playing left wing back one game in a defeat at Manchester United. He didn't quite know what he had on his hands. Klopp has transformed him into a centre forward, and it's become a Brazil. And obviously, he was already on the fringes of the Brazil setup at the time, but made him a kind of Brazilian centre forward. Immense fondness from the Liverpool supporters. I think we'll be hearing that Bobby Firmino song forever, if I'm honest. And there's no doubt he's a modern day great for what he's already done at the club. He scored over 100 goals. And just everything he's contributed over the years, he will go down as a modern day hero, I'm sure. But I don't think his story is coming to an end just yet, to be honest.
Yeah, hopefully some more memories to be written out. But just on those memories, are there any standout Firmino memories for you? I know I personally I've got two. It would be the I remember the 3-3 with Arsenal where Joe Allen equalised in the last minute. I think he scored the first two in that, and one of them he puts one in the top corner past Petr Cech.
Yeah,
was that game, and the winner in the Champions League group stage against PSG. That one, that was one for the ages, I think. So, have you got any standout Firmino memories?
There are a few, aren't they? I should have really thought about this before we come on. I think the winning goal in the Club World Cup was huge, because I know what it means to players, particularly in South America. That's seen as a much bigger deal than it is in England, and rightly so, in my honest opinion. I think that was massive. I seem to remember a clutch of winners in the year Liverpool won the Premier League. I think he got the winner at Wolves, he got the winner at Tottenham, the winner at Palace. I think he was responsible. His winning goals were responsible for something like 15 points or something. So they stand out for me. But just Firmino as a general kind of idea, if you like, with the Brazil centre forward, the flamboyance, the just the megawatt smile, the skills, and the goals and all that. Just everything rolls into one, doesn't he? For the kind of archetypal Brazilian centre forward package, isn't he? And he's been superb for Liverpool. Some of the things he's done, the things he's won. He's won a lot at Liverpool, hasn't he? He's been integral to this, last sort of 3-4 years of success that Liverpool have had. So whenever he does walk away, he will go with a massive pat on the back, and will be regarded as a legend, really, in years to come.
Yeah, I think you got it spot on earlier when you said he really will personify the Jurgen Klopp era, but hopefully they do come to a solution and he stays with the club for a little bit longer and makes a few more memories for us. But that is all we've got time for on the agenda today. So, Gorsty, thanks for joining me, and we'll catch you next time.